Handle Your High with Tadayoshi. All right, welcome back to Handle Your High with me, Tadayoshi, and I have Trey Hodge and Charles Dixon. Hey, thanks for being on the show, guys.
Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah, man. We saw each other at the Arnold. You did really good as you made the conversion back over to the open class. I think you were in the open before, right? At one point.
Yeah, my rookie year, I actually forgot about it. I did my rookie year. I did New York Pro. And, back then you could cross over at it, so and so it actually was 202 actually back then. So they would let you cross over at the show.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I came in. If I remember correctly, I think I came in 10th in the opens and 4th in the 202.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I think the first time I remember ever really talking to you was I think when you won. What was it? Was it Orlando?
Chicago was my first pro win.
This was in Florida. So I think it was in Florida or Texas somewhere. I think I was with.
We did Orlando one year.
Could have been. I can't remember where it was.
Yeah, I think we got 6th or 7th Orlando. That was the first year. But I think the talk was he had put on like 15 pounds from the Sarasota show before. So it was a big difference as far as his looks. I think there was a lot of talk of maybe possibly us being more of a top 4, top 5 of that show because of it. Okay.
I couldn't remember. I thought I was with Aaron Singerman. We interviewed you. We interviewed you after the show. Do you remember?
Yeah. That was the Orlando show.
Was that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It wasn't.
I remember going. Here's what I remember. I remember walking up to you and going, "Man, he's shorter than I thought." Because I don't meet people that are really that shorter than me. So I'm like, fuck. I'm like, shit. Because you don't look at it. You didn't, because from on stage, obviously everything's like an illusion, right? It's hard to see these things, but it's just kind of funny. So now, how long have you been coaching, Charles, Trey?
I think we've known each other for about 8 years. We actually started training together before I started coaching them. We kind of had a group that I was piloting at the time. Then I started training with Charles and actually Monique Jones. And we were training for about a year together. And then I started coaching them for, it was Greensboro Muscle Heat. And that was back in, was that 2011 or 12?
2010, 12.
12. Okay, so 12
yeah.
was his first show with us together, and we actually only had prep. We were only together for 6 weeks prior to Greensboro for like me coaching them, and then after that was Sarasota, where Sarasota fell 2 weeks after Muscle Heat, and that's where he placed 3rd in Sarasota, and that was with I think Eduardo Carrera won that show, and Raul got 2nd. I think. Yeah.
Raul.
What? So now I didn't know this about you. I didn't know that you were a chiropractor as well. And then So you do your chiropractic work. How did you get involved in? Tell me the history. Tell me the history between you guys and also how you got involved doing the coaching.
I've been a chiropractor for 12 years now, but I've always been involved in bodybuilding. And I really, honestly, I started working with, when I was in practice in California, I started working with like college players and athletes more on their diets. So I started working on that, and I was competing at the same time, and then really just started helping a few friends of mine get ready for shows. That was in California. I moved back here, actually befriended a few people that were also competitors and stuff. I pretty much got linked up with Charles through Monique, because I was helping Monique a little bit. Oh. And she introduced me to Charles first just for training, us getting together to train, because Charles saw me training in the gym before, and he thought I was some crazy white guy. So I was doing like bandit squats and all this other stuff, and he just thought I was crazy for what I was doing. So we linked up together, started training together, and really Charles was one of the first really pro athletes I had started working with in the beginning. I worked with a lot of amateurs, but not really a lot of pros, so he was one of the first pros I had. And pretty much I just asked him one day, because I said, Monique said you were coaching yourself, or it's like, I'd be willing to take over your prep if you're open to it. And he was already getting things. We've been training for so long, so he already trusted me at that point. And honestly, after that, I mean, we've already done, I say, 23, 24 shows together.
Oh wow!
It's been a while. We've I think I know we try to do all the counting. It's been so many Arnold, so many Olympians, and so we've definitely got a tight-knit little family relationship now, as you can say. So, pretty much he tell you I'm his safety blanket when it comes to traveling. So.
You're his like coaching binky.
Like he needs a hug and a snuggle. He knows where to turn to when I'm there. So.
That's good, man. That's the kind of relationship I like to hear, because I have people that I've worked with for, like, my longest standing client is 18 years.
Oh,
so
wow.
Just he's never and he's in his 50s, still competes. He does well everywhere. So it's like pretty. I've seen him through 2 heart attacks, through like all kinds of stuff, like literally, So that's why I like hearing these stories, because I think this sport gives us an opportunity not just to do something cool with our bodies and to achieve some stuff, but also to develop really wonderful friendships and that we have. And so it's really nice to see that. I didn't know much about you though until. Until Charles, and then of course some other people. One of my clients, who you know, Charles, Nigel. He actually knew a lot more about you. He knows about everything. I don't know how he knows all this shit. And I'm a guy who's been in the industry for 34 years. Like, but he won't know anything. He knows like people, coaches, you name it. Like, he just keeps his hands in all these things.
Well, even locations, he helped us out when we were in Olympia 4 years ago. And as far as like the food we needed, everything, like he just knew exactly where we had to go. So he's always been a good friend. I mean, I've known for at least 5 years. We both have. So he always sends a friendly message depending on where we're going and just letting us know. So hey, give you a heads up. This is where you need to do. This is where you need to go. Need help? Let a couple of therapists in the area. So he does everything. So yeah, we always ask him first before we go anywhere.
I know we were joking around, but and I'll make one more joke. It's just a joke, but if you want to ask about gay porn, he'd be the guy to ask. He knows I'm just poking fun at him, but but it's kind of but I didn't know yet. What's this hat you got on, man? Is that a new sponsor or something? It says Yoked. Yours. You do know you have a hat on, right? Yeah, yours, bro.
He has a hat on, probably.
Oh man, when I was in Virginia about in the last year, I went there to a nutrition shop, and a guy came out of the clear blue, just gave me he said, "Man, I want to give you a hat and a shirt." So a lot of people know I love hats.
It's a kick-ass looking hat.
Yeah, I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know it had Yoked on the front.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, red's one of my favorite colors. So like red and black are my favorite colors. So like I'm always but I never wear hats because long time ago in my 20s. Now I always had a lot of hair, but as I've gotten older, my started to thin out a little bit. But like the brim of the hat. And maybe you could tell me, Trey. You might know this answer the question, but I've always read that it could cut the circulation off your scalp. And if you wear hats too much, it can. It doesn't always, but it can.
Okay.
So I always thought, man, I don't want to lose my hair, man. So like I never wore hats because I used to wear. I don't know if you remember back in the '90s. I used to wear those Kangos, man, backwards and shit. That was the shit, man. Like that was. Yeah. I would wear one today if I thought I could. I think I could probably get away with it today without looking like, I don't know, Snoopy or something. I don't know.
Oh my god.
I know, like, hey, man, like it's a, but so you guys live near each other, right? Like, is that how the connection started?
I was in Greenville. Now I'm between Greenville and Florence. I have 2 different offices, but I'm back in Greenville usually twice a month. So usually when I'm there, I'm training with him and all that. But yeah, we were I lived in that area for a while, and that's how we really connected anyway. So I was in the area. So, and that's pretty much, we have a few, we do have a few pros in that area, like Monique, and then I know we got a few physique pros and stuff too that are in the area. So Greenville is actually a pretty cool place. It's not too far from Charlotte, not too far from Atlanta. So you still have a lot of competitors just around, especially in the gym we train at.
So do you have your chiropractic offices is separate from the gym and everything, or is it?
Well, the one actually, Charles is in my office in Greenville right now, and that's actually inside the gym. So that's
cool.
There. So, and then the one I have in Florence is actually next to the gym. So pretty much my office has always been like around gyms or in gyms. Honestly, it works out perfect because for me, I tend to dress kind of casual sometimes at office. Once in a while I might dress like in a polo, but most of the time it's casual. Yeah. I mean, honestly, my patients are okay because most of my patients understand that I'm back and forth between the gym and the office anyways, because a lot of times I'll work out between patients stuff, or he'll tell you sometimes I'll work out with them between my patients I have scheduled, training them, then come back and still work. So.
Well, I'll tell you. So do you split your? I'm just curious about this because I always thought, well, I've known so many chiropractors over the years, and they always want to try to encourage more revenue streams in their business because it's hard. Like it's hard to develop a good practice, especially as a chiropractor. A lot of because with insurance and different factors that make it difficult. But a lot of them try to sell supplements. So is this a way for you to supplement that? Or I'm just curious because it sounds like it's a good match for you.
Honestly, a lot of my clients I work with that are even nutrition clients, sometimes are chiropractic clients too.
Oh, okay.
But now I have to admit, like for me, sometimes if for instance, if the prep side is busier, then my chiropractic side maybe is on the lower end as far as volume. Vice versa, if the volume is high on the chiropractic side, then maybe the prep part is lower too. It kind of helps with each other and stuff. I say it's like two different ways of income for me. But I enjoy both in a sense. I mean, both of them are involved in healthcare or health and wellness stuff, so both go hand in hand.
Were you working Were you working on Charles as a chiropractic guy? Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's been a chiropractic patient ever since we've been trained together.
So I'm curious. I'm always interested in chiropractic work. So tell me because I hate to break the bad news to you, as we said earlier, you're short. So does that? But there's a lot of muscle on the frame, and I always had this problem when I would go in. I had a hard time getting some chiropractors to be able to adjust me right.
I think with him in the beginning it was a lot tougher, but he's really more proactive now than ever. He does a lot of his stretches and stuff too. So he's actually more mobile now than he ever was before. So his hips move a lot easier now. He tell you, like, even his upper back, we do a lot of muscle work with his back too, a lot of grafted work, so that loosens him up. So he's a little easier to adjust, I say, now than he was like in the beginning, like 6 years ago. 6 years ago, like, he was tough, very mobile. It was hard.
I think that's me, man. I wish I lived near you, bro. I wish that I had somebody like yourself in my area who had expertise in bodybuilding, but also in chiropractic work, because a lot of times the chiropractors that I know, they just don't really know how to work on the athletes who have more muscle or who have some of the issues that we have, like immobility in the hips and these, because all those muscles tighten up. And 34 years of bodybuilding, it's helped me and it's hindered me, right? It's like
it's like a double-edged sword. So I think with one thing, when it comes with somebody who's active, stuff, of course, they're more willing to listen and do the things that they need to rehab. That's the advantage of it. Of course, the disadvantage, of course, they're always going to have some issues. They're always going to have some areas that are going to tighten up more than others. So that's just kind of like the like I said, double-edged sword with it. You have your pros and cons of it. So
well, what's the big? So now, from your perspective, Charles, what has been the biggest value that you've gotten from Trey? I mean, I know he's sitting right here, so you can tell him all the good stuff, but because I know you guys love each other, so it doesn't matter.
Shoot, man, that's great. Trey did everything. What he failed to mention was that he the one taught me out of retiring. I had quit.
Oh, really? Well, you're not like how old are you now? How old are you now, Charles? What's your age now? How old are you?
46.
Okay, so that's not so bad. Sorry, I'm just adjusting. That's not so bad. Okay, for some reason I thought you were 1 or 2 years older, but maybe I'm wrong. Okay, so you wanted to retire a couple years ago, or?
Right, when you first started, because I was doing my prep by myself, and man, at that time, man, like Trey, man, I was going through a whole bunch of negative stuff with my son, going back and forth to court, man, and I got frustrated with prep. Man, things weren't going my way, and I told Monique, I said, man, I quit, man, I ain't doing this no more. And so,
fuck this shit.
So, I said, man, no. And so, Trey and Monique talked, and so he came to me. He was like, man, he said, man, you got 6 weeks out from muscle heat. He was like, just let me do your prep. He said, if you don't like it, if you still want to retire, fine. But he said, man, just let me do your prep. So I was like, all right. And man, you can ask him. Tad, I look like straight up. I look like straight up boo boo. I look bad. And it was like, I was like, man, no. He was like, man, give me a chance. So we did muscle heat our first show together, and I went from about like 65% to like 85, 90%. In which, with me, my 85, 90%, it's pretty good. And so. And you would have thought, honestly, Well, we came in with, I think, because that year Curtis won. It was Curtis, Tricky, Marvin. It was some pretty big top names at the time. And I think we came in like 4th or 5th. And man, you thought I won, because I was just amazed how in 6 weeks, what he did in 6 weeks.
What do you think the magic was for you? Like, because from my perspective, I've seen this happen with myself over the years. I've been coaching people for about almost 30 years, and I've seen this happen. Like, you get a new client, and they'll smoke. They'll really, really do awesome. And a lot of it, in my opinion, now this is my opinion, has to do with them allowing to believe in something. It's their mindset. They're willing to let their guard down and go, oh, you know what? I'm just going to give into this process. And once they give that resistance up, their bodies start to work. They just start to just go on fire, and then they get better and better and better. It's when they start to reintroduce that resistance that they start having problems again. And it could come in the form of anything, right? It could come in the form of, like you mentioned before, problems with relationships or family problems, or you name it, man. Like, that's all resistance, right? Like, so what do you attribute some of that early success to, and your continued success? Because I've always seen you come in great shape. I mean, I've had my criticisms from time to time, but you always come in great shape, and I always feel like you're always one of a good contender. So,
that's big coming from you, Ted.
Well, I like to speak honestly, man. I don't, but I do. Like, what do you consider, like, what for you? What's the magic?
Man, I think just really, like, man, because, you know, people have followed me and followed my career, man. Y'all just know I love the sport. I love to compete. And man, at that time, it was like, I was like, bro, I said, you did this in 6 weeks? And man, he just like, man, he just breathed like some fresh air into my body. And man, he was always positive, man.
Good.
I finally told him what was going on behind the scenes, man. And then he was not just my coach. He was a friend. And so now, man, of course, we brothers from another mother. I was calling this my white brother anyway.
Hey man, like pigment's just 2 millimeters deep. You know that, right?
And I think one of the things I can sit here and say with him, it was just, man, he never gave up on me. He never not one time. He never not say, man, he never doubted nothing. If it was me, I was the one who was doubting how far we could really go. I was like, okay, man, we did 1 show, then we did 2. We went to Sarasota, and I was like, man, we went to Sarasota to get some dudes. I was like, okay. I said, man, okay, you got my trust now. And like I say, man, it just and the whole entire time, and when we started, I said, man, I didn't even know he was a prep coach. And we worked out together. And after we got started, I said, man, why you ain't say nothing? He's like, man, I thought you was working with somebody else. I'm like, no, man. So you mean to tell me we done worked out like what, 5 or 6 months?
Oh, he was your chiropractor. You didn't even know he prepped people as well.
No, man, about it. And I just think, like, one thing how he really like sold me was a lot of people. Some people know, some people don't. When we first started, man, my shoulders was awful. My shoulders like the worst. They were just beat up. They was toe up. One was bigger than the other one. I had a half a muscle missing in my left one, one on in my right one. And man, that's when we first started. Because my shoulders were like, after we started training together, man, my shoulders were messed up real bad. And so, man, we did therapy, man, maybe about 4 or 5 weeks. Once my shoulders got stronger, then I started pumping that heavy weight. So my goal was always, he was like about 50, 60, 65 pounds ahead of me in every lift. I said, man, if I get 25 pounds of you in every lift, I'm doing good. It took me a while, but I got it. I got like 25, 30 pounds on every lift. So let's say we were squatting, if we put 4 plates on, he had to put a 35 on, I had to put a 25 on. So man, and in hindsight, the moral of the story is that, man, he pushed me, man, to get better. And at that point, man, all that heavy weight we lifted, man, it was necessary because it actually like is rejuvenating my body, man. And basically, I tell people, had it been for him, man, I would be still competing. So man, I mean, I say he's worked with, man. We don't work together so long. It's like we always talk, but we talk more about other stuff than bodybuilding because we don't get everything so long. So it's kind of like
that's when it gets good, man. That's in my opinion, because I get to spend all day just talking to people that I like, you know.
So it's like 16 weeks out, I already know it's gonna be like 12 weeks out, 8 weeks out. Now he'll tell you when you get 5 weeks out, I get brain dead. So you have to go through everything about 5-6 times. I'll be like, man.
I wrote it down for you. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's like you got 2 different emails. I send everything that we changed to both emails. Make sure you get
Just
that way we're on the same page. The place they were talking to, this is funny too. This is, I guess, in our beginnings, but when he did Greensboro, kind of lit another fire, and Sarasota was only 2 weeks away. And he just came to me on Monday and said, "Hey, man, what do you think about doing Sarasota?" And I was like, "When is it?" He's like, "Oh, it's like inside 2 weeks." And I was kind of almost like already like, "Well," I was like, "I'm not sure, but let me sit on it for a minute." And I was like, "You sure you want to do this?" He's like, "Man," he's like, "I'll do anything." He's like, "I'll eat dirt." At least he told me, "I'll eat dirt and be prepared meal 3 hours a day if I have to." And he was already, he already had a fire lit then. So when we did it, and he can tell you from 2 weeks, I was even surprised of what he did and what his body did do. And that was, and then we came to Sarasota, and we got 3rd place in Sarasota. We pretty much were the same weight as we were at Greensboro, just a completely different look. And so that's what kind of got things kind of really going. And honestly got to really see how, I think, more so like genetically gifted he was and his body could do. Because I think that was one thing. I think he was one of the first athletes I worked with that had such amazing genetics and potential, and his body could change at the drop of a hat. I've seen Charles, body change in like 3 days to like looking like he was so to where like, okay, he's got a chance. But even last year Arnold's, I was surprised even how quick he responded with that prep, because we really didn't even jump into prep for Arnold's till 11.5 weeks out.
So what was the difference in last year and this year? Like, what, I know you guys focused, like, because they took the 212 out and you decided to slip into the open, which was easy. But what was the strategy?
I mean, last year, we started, he took a 3-month break doing nothing. So he was off just everything in general, like supplement-wise, even training. So last year, we grew into the show and actually stayed the same weight from day one till the show. Like, he was 208 when we started prep, pretty much maybe 13% body fat, so maybe chewed up bubblegum at that look. And then where he was probably one of the best looks he had, I say, was last year Arnold. I say overall with conditioning and size, and he was at 208 then. Really, this year we just focused more on trainings. We knew we were going to really have to really match, with a lot of these guys when it comes to like thickness, size, density. Because actually at Olympia this year we had dropped down 203, so we were definitely a good bit smaller at the Olympia this year. So we knew we couldn't be that for the Arnold. So we actually ended up being about 214, which I was still very happy with what we brought to Arnold this year for the Open. I felt we did have plenty of thickness, plenty of size. Conditioning was good. Of course, first time really truly being with these group of guys and these elite guys, because you had over 6 guys that did the Olympia this last year, so it was pretty
and some of the best guys, man, really, like some of the best guys.
So I felt really good even for how we looked and how we stand against those guys, and plus being the first time really being in this type of competitive show. It looked really, I thought it was a good look for him. Now we're gearing for Indy. We're going to bring it down just a little bit more, of course. I think our goal is really to be under that 210 mark for him. I think for his size, conditioning, stuff, that'll fare him real well for the Indy 12-5.
Okay, cool. And then beyond that, do you have any plans beyond that, just out of curiosity?
Well, hopefully we're going, of course, everything in for Indy, but we are looking at possibly Dallas. Dallas is another show we're looking at. We've done Dallas, I think, twice now or once?
Yeah, Dallas
twice.
Yeah.
So we're looking at Dallas, maybe Chicago if we need to. We've done Chicago a few times. But then our ultimate goal, of course, if we can qualify in the Indy, then that'd be the ultimate goal and shut down for Olympia. Because as you know, with Flex, not being there this year, it's really opened a lot more now for a lot of guys coming up. So we feel like if we at least put the time in that, at least gives us a good opportunity to be in that top 6 possibly this year.
What do you think? So, like, do you feel a difference, Charles, this year, like in your prep and your energy and your body? Do you feel like there's a different opportunity for you?
Yeah, man, it's funny you asked that question because me and Trey talked about it a little bit after the show. Like he was saying, what the big difference of this prep is that we know we need to get a tad bit bigger and fuller, to match the size with the bigger guys. So instead of doing a whole bunch of cardio like I did for the Olympia, which I did way too much, I came undersized. So we basically focused more on the weight training part. So basically what I did from the start of prep all the way up to probably about 3 weeks straight. I didn't do fasted cardio, so I worked out first. So what I found out is that when I did, all the fasted cardio, when I did 80, 90 minutes fasted cardio before training, after about 20, 25 minutes, I was spent. So the end of my workout started, sucking. I mean, it's not like I wasn't giving everything I got, but I really want to focus on, the pushing, the pressing, the holding, the squeezing. So
just making it through.
Yeah, basically. And so to actually get the focus on the training part, I mean, to get back to the squeezing and make sure, every rep I squeeze. Actually, strength was like crazy this spring. Man, I didn't push it to the point where, to try to hurt myself. But man, I felt stronger. So I think that helped out a lot because I did cardio like after. And he had we almost did the same amount of cardio, but he just split it up. So I mean, that made a world of difference, man. That's probably the best move that he pulled.
So would you break it up into a couple different sessions of the day?
Yeah, what we actually do is we didn't have to do nearly as much, of course, time wise, but we'd do like 30 minutes. Say he would have it to where either he'll do 30 minutes post workout, and he had 2 workout sessions each day, so we'll do like 30, or in the evening time he might do like 20 before, 20 after, and we can actually do a little bit more intensity with some of those, so we could push the level up a little bit higher. So.
Oh, what? Coming up to the Indy, how excited are you? Do you know who's gonna be there? I think you got a pretty good shot.
I don't even care who's gonna be there. Trey, I've been talking about Indy before we left Ohio.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the way I feel about it, I mean, people ask me how I feel about the Arnold. Man, for number one, man, it was by far my biggest show. Even though, people say, man, you got 5 wins. Well, how's that your biggest show? Man, you gotta understand. When I saw the names on the list, I damn near panicked. I was like, this is bullshit. I was like, man, no way. I said, man, I said, this is experiment. I didn't mean for all y'all to be here. And it was like, I told Trey, man, and a couple of days, I told Trey, I said, man, I got kind of spooked at first.
Really?
I was like, man, you had Seb, William, Rolly, Brandon. I was like,
so now after the experience is over, like, what's the takeaway for you? Like, when you left there and you looked the way you looked and you did the way you did and you competed against these other guys who are really top in the world. I mean, like, essentially, it's like, what does that tell you about you?
Man, the same way Trey taught me out of retirement and blew that fresh breath out of my career. That show right there, man, proved a lot for me because I'm like, man, like you just said. Man, I was on the stage with 6 Olympians, Opens. These dudes out here.
A couple of those dudes were in the top 3, man.
You got what? I was saying you got top what? Rolly, and Wynn was in the top 3 at the Olympian. And man, when I look back on it and we looked at the pictures and kind of compared, I was like, man, they're not big as me. They're just taller, so they look bigger. And man, I didn't get the placing I wanted. I kind of felt like we got kind of overlooked a little bit. I was just hoping they just throw me out there just for the hell of it, just to see how I look, against the other guys. But that didn't happen. But man, just to be on the same stage with them dudes, and honestly, it's not like we showed up and everybody said, "Oh man, Charles is like shit." Man, I actually got on that stage with the best open dudes in the world and gave them everything I got, and I held my own. So now the way I feel, if I could do this against these dudes, they top overs in the world. Hell, I can go back to 212. I mean, man, we can go there and knock people out.
So to me, this says, and I don't go. I'm always talking about this subject matter, so I can't help but bring it up. To me, what this tells me, if I was speaking to you, which I am, I would say it says that the only limitation that you have is you. Before you came to the show, the limitation you had was, hey man, I'm going up against these top guys. I could not do so well, but actually you did pretty good, and actually you showed very, very, very well. And the only thing that can move you from here where you're at now to here where you want to be is right up here.
Right.
And then the body will follow. The body will follow. The body will follow. Like I tell people this all the time. Look, the body follows the mind. It doesn't go the other way around. It goes, your mind has to go there first, and you have to believe it, and it has to feel viscerally real. A win, a way you want to present yourself, it's got to feel that way first.
Right.
In your head, in your mind, in your heart. And then when it becomes like second nature, when it becomes like, hey, this is just what's going to happen, then it usually just manifests and just creates. To me, that's exciting
It's
stuff.
funny you mentioned that. It's funny you mentioned that because I'm gonna take you back a little bit. And it's something you told me a while back, a long time. Well, not a long time ago. You told me this maybe about, I think it was a year. It might be my first or second year winning Phoenix.
Okay.
And before I went out there, you said, man, Charles, I need you to go out there on that stage with all the confidence you got in the world and go out there and show what you got.
That's right. And I believe I said smile.
Smile, yeah. And
I remember.
I remember you saying that, and I remember going out and I was feeling confident.
You did. You look good.
With him, this show right here, man, it was so. I mean, even all my pro wins, I got 5 wins. I was always confident. But man, you could ask him. Me and him, we made like 2 minor changes to my posing before the show, and it's like, man, I got like the biggest confidence in the world. I'm like, man, it's time to go bang with these big boys. And so, man, now it's like, man, if I could do this against you, against these dudes, man, the 212, man. I mean, I always thought we always been a top 212 guy anyway. Now I kind of feel like that not only we could be a top 212, top 5 212, man, we could actually be a threat to get a 212 title.
You could say it. You could be a top open competitor. You could say it out loud.
Yeah. Now, that's the game plan. And we just talked about this past weekend. So I said, man, what you think about this idea? We qualified. We'll do a show to qualify for the 212 Olympia. And we just spend the rest of the year just doing open shows. I mean, because to be honest, I mean, man, it was a totally different field in the opens. It's totally different. It's a totally different field.
How do you, when you compare and contrast the two, what's the difference in the feeling for you?
Honestly, and it is no disrespect to anybody, hierarchy, anybody. I just think that the opens, big brother, 212, little brother. So little brother gonna get a whole lot, but big brother gonna get most of it. And so it kind of felt that way. Like I was telling people, I said, man, we compete on the same stage. We use the same meeting room. We use the same room to meet and greet. And I was just like, man, but it was just totally different.
But it feels
like they treat you different. They look at you different. And I'm like, okay. I got the big boy now. So
you like the way that feels. I can tell you like the way that feels. Nothing wrong with that.
And the one thing that tripped me out about it, like on the pose down. Okay, y'all know the 212 pose down. They crank the music up about 45, 50 seconds. That's all it gives. Y'all get your asses on stage. So I jumped in the front. So I'm thinking like the pose. I'm thinking, okay, I'm going with Cedric. I'm finding everybody that's big. So I'm gonna pose beside them. So I kind of slipped in front of everybody. So Cedric said, "Go." I said, "Man, go well." He said, "Man, go." I said, "Well," he said, "Go down the steps, man. The pose down in the audience."
You're like, you're blocking the way.
I said, "For real?" I holler at. I'm about jumping on the chairs, posing, high-fiving people, man.
Every time I see this happen when they do that, like do it at the Olympia or do it wherever, especially at other shows, and like some of the guys will get on top of the chairs. I've seen Flex Lewis do it. I'm thinking to myself, man, this is like an accident waiting to happen. These guys got oil on. They're gonna fucking fall and they're gonna break their neck, man. That's the worst thing that can happen right now.
But you sound like my mom. Like when I go guest posing, my mom was like, "Boy, please don't jump on no chairs." You had Trey. That's my signature move. I go, guess so. I got to jump in the chair. I got to sit. Look, I'm already short, man. So if I come in the audience, I got to jump on the chair.
You got to get tall.
Well, man, I enjoyed it, man. I definitely. If they don't bring me back to 212, man, I'm not even
sure why. I'm not even sure why they nixed it. I don't know why, but I do. When I looked at the numbers, I think that the attendance was down this last year, and I think that the expo was down, And I think when I read, it said 200, and like a little over, because I get these emails from the people at the Arnold, and they kind of give you an overview of what the numbers were and stuff. And it looks like about 200 and a little over 200, that like 250, 240,000 people came into Columbus, but that's like almost half of what normally comes in, I think. I think in previous years it was 300 to 400,000.
Yeah, last year.
So I think maybe it had something to do with the money. I don't know, but it sucks because it's the division that I always look forward to the most because it's usually more competitive. It's like not as obvious. Like, you know, it's like, so sometimes when you get to the Open, it's kind of like, okay, we know who's going to kind of win, you know, or whatever.
You have no idea about it,
Even though this year, how did you feel about the actual results? Like from just in the top, like say three or so spots. How did you feel, Trey? You too, Charles.
I think we both agreed. I mean, we both feel like, you know, of course we had Curry winning because I think we were just looking and stuff. And you just can see it, just a different look. Even Charles said backstage, like Curry just looked phenomenal. Like,
dude, he was spot on, man. Like, dude,
I think he just brought like every. I mean, me and him were even Charles even talked. We've known Brandon for a while, and you know we've always said like he had amazing like aesthetics, look, and everything else. But he's came up so much now that I mean we could see him even being like a top contender at the Olympia this year. You know?
Well, I'm told I've said this. I said this like 2 years ago actually, but before he went to Kuwait, I really thought that he had what it took to be in the top contender at the Olympia. And then his first year there, I said, man, like I'm telling you, this guy is the next new guy. Like after, I really do. He's a little older than you would expect, but because it took him a little bit more time to get his momentum. And it's all about focus. I've known Brandon since he was an amateur, and he and I competed with each other as a matter of fact. And he's a stellar guy. I love him to death, but he doesn't come to the sport like everybody else. So he comes to the sport very differently. Like people were telling him how good he could be, and he was like, I didn't want to get into some speedos and get on a fucking stage and shit like that. He's like, I don't really care about that stuff. And he's like, but because he said he was a gymnast. I didn't know that. He was a gymnast in high school. And I had him on my show. We were talking about it, and he's like, "Yeah, man, I was a gymnast, man. I had abs, and I wasn't really big or anything. I was always kind of muscular, but nothing like bodybuilder." And he says, "I kind of saw it as kind of gay. You get on stage, kind of until people started telling him. He's like, hey, you should do it. And then I guess when he was like, I guess he was 19 or whatever." 6 weeks out, he decides to do this show because everyone says, "Oh, you should do it," and he wins the whole thing. And he said, then I got bit. He said it was fun. And so he comes to this sport. A lot of people like myself come to this sport because of insecurity. We want to build a physique. We want to build self-esteem. We want to create something that we think we're missing in our life. And so we do it through our physique, right? And through our accomplishments in the sport. Well, he didn't do it that way. So which makes him really uniquely different. So because I'm like trying to figure him out, like, right? and he just doesn't care about the same things, which is why it took us. That's why I say it was a slow start. Normally because he wasn't. If people like that, if it's not feeding the ego, if it's not feeding, then you have to feed it. You got to feed that to keep that fire going hotter and hotter and hotter. Right. Well, with somebody like me or like you or perhaps or some other people who get in the industry, we're fed by this constantly. Even with a loss, it fires you up almost even more to like get in there versus him being deflated. He's like, oh, well, I guess I'm not. I guess I was just like not hitting my potential, or not. I knew I could be better, but I didn't know how. And so for him, his success today. People ask me all the time, well, how come these guys go to Oxygen Gym? What happens? Nothing happens. What happens is they get focused. That's it.
Right.
That's all they do. That's all that happens. They get focused. You take out all the distractions, all the girls, all the extra junk, all the whatever. And I mean, if you know what the schedule is like, I'm surprised that. You haven't been contacted to go over there because what they do is there's an apartment building that's right next to one of the gyms that he's got. Bader's got like 2 gyms in Kuwait, or 2 or 3 in there, and the big one, there's an apartment building. He's got a doctor there that who services all the athletes just in case something goes wrong. He has their food delivered to them. He's got their gym. They have a schedule every day. They get up at a certain time to go to bed at a certain time. You do all these things so that nothing gets missed, right? And their coaches train in the gym with them, so to speak, and so like they're constantly being sort of prepped. There's no room for getting distracted, and so but when you're here in the States, and then what happens is people get distracted, and for good reasons. Our lives distract us. But when you don't, to me, this just highlights how important focus is. So when you're prepping for a show, if you could just isolate that 12 weeks, that 16 weeks, whatever it is for you, and you could really focus, then if you have more focus, then you'll always win. There's just no way around. There's no way around it. If you have more focus, it's how do you create that focus within you? So like some people get a lot of momentum going in one direction. So my comment to you would be, continue to use the Arnold, the Indy, whatever else as momentum. That's how you'll build that level of energy into your career and to continue to make a dent in the open class. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You do, man. I definitely, if for some reason, I don't know, man, doing the open show, it got me, I got a little taste of that open, man. It's kind of like,
so you want to,
I said, man, this is what we're going to do. So we're going to do one show, qualify for the 212, so other shows, we're going to do open shows. So, man, and one of my goals, I honestly think, I think what we brought to this stage, man, was good. We was big, we was full, we was conditioned, we was.
What would you like to improve on? Like, what would you like to do, become better at? From both, I want to hear from like both of your perspectives. Like, what do you think you could do to improve on what you showed at the Arnold for the Indy?
Man, the only thing I can honestly say, man, and of course he already spotted it out, so he already got me working on my biceps like 8 times a week now. But I honestly think, and you mentioned it too. And I think if I bring my biceps up a little bit more, I think I probably look a little bit bigger than I'm actually am. So, besides that, and just keep trying to get tighter and tighter every show.
I would say, like, from my perspective, open up. When you're on stage, in your mind, when you pose and when you display your physique, display it like the guy who's 380 pounds. Don't do it like the guy who's 180. Does that make sense? Like, you project who you are on stage, and a lot of athletes miss some of this. And what they don't realize is, like this is my assessment of Cedric. Probably should be winning every show that he gets into, but doesn't. Why? Because he doesn't project the same way that his physique will allow him to. He's got this really wonderful physique, right? But yet, for some reason, it lacks some wow. It lacks this wow factor. It's nothing standing out at you when he stands there next to other people. When he's standing by himself, it's great, but you have no reference point. This is not a sport of individuality. This is a sport of comparison.
Right.
So you're only as good as the guys you're standing next to on stage. On that day, that's all that you have to compare yourself with.
Right.
So
that one day, yeah.
So the one day. So when you pose, and I think I've talked to you about this before. My only recommendation or my only criticism is make sure you're posing like you're about 100 pounds bigger than you are. Open everything up, so that way you're not constrained. You don't, because you have you're 5'5" or whatever. You're not like super tall, and you're really thick, and you kind of look like a big ball of muscle traveling around the stage, right? You kind of want to expand, open a little bit more, just so that it doesn't highlight that sort of squatty nature. Make sense?
Okay.
And it makes sense. And it gives you the impression, it gives the judges and the audience a much different impression about you, your personality, but more importantly, your physique and everything else. I see it a lot in people who, and you can tell, like you talk to them and they're not comfortable with their conditioning or they're not comfortable with some body part, and you can see how they try to hide it. Like, that's the last thing you want to do. Like, you're not hiding anything on stage. You got 1 foot of material on, and you're not hiding shit. Okay, it's like, so don't try.
Man, that's one thing. And you mentioned this several years ago too. And man, I can't say that I conditioned every show for maybe like past 3 to 4 years, man. About last 3 to 5 years. Well, I say at least the last 3 years been consistent. Pretty much every year. So it just like each, and I tell people I've been like a chameleon lately. I've been bringing different packages to the stage, but what has been maintaining is our condition has been consistent for the last few years. So I just think, man, I got, man, that open division that's in my head now. It's kind of like
I think sounds like your career's been revitalized.
I think because like I say, it was new to me, and we actually had some success. So it's kind of like you know, you get that initial fear or something. And it's like, oh shit, well hell, man, I can compete with y'all. I don't care if I go 5'3". So it's like, okay.
I would call that an opening of the mind. So like when you're moving in your life towards something, and all of a sudden you like, say you're traveling up a hill, you get to the top of the hill, and now you can see the valley before you. You can see so much more. But when you were climbing the hill, you can only see what's just directly in front of you. So now that you hit this open class, competing in the open class once again is very much like you be on top of that hill. Now you're like, oh, I can see so much more. This does look, I could do this, right? So, and that's just you accepting a belief that you no longer want to hold. You like, I talk to people about this all the time. Like we all have limiting beliefs. Like there's these beliefs that limit us in what we can do. People say things like, and you probably heard this, somebody probably comes and says, I want to lose some weight, but I always get stuck at 135. I'm like, well, you're destined to be stuck there. I'm like, I want to tell them, well, if you believe that, I can't change it. I can give you a good diet. I can work with you through the process. I can help you along the way. But if you are going to believe that, then you'll find reasons to make it true. It'll just come true. There's no way I can't. So once you change a limiting belief to something like, hey, I can do the open class. I could actually kick ass in the open class. That's why I was saying you can say it out loud. Like, say it out loud. Fucking proclaim that shit. Like, preach it, because you're the one who has to believe it before anybody else does.
I mean, he was talking, man, I say about my short-term goals is like, I definitely want to shoot for that 212 Olympic title. But I definitely want to keep doing open shows and kind of progress. I would into the open division.
I wouldn't leave any stones unturned. I mean, you're a professional athlete. You're a professional bodybuilder. This is what you do. You only stand to benefit from doing more shows, from doing open or 212 show. Doesn't matter. Like I would do them all, because I mean we all know we have a limited window of opportunity in this sport, right? Like, and but you get to determine how big that window is during the time you're trying to move through it, right? So I mean, like, who would have believed in 2003 that Dexter Jackson would still be fucking competing today? Because I remember that dude, he got his pro card, I think, in 2001, something like that, or something like that. I can't remember exactly when, but it was like around that time frame. And I remember I walked up to him he had a table. It was at the Cal State, I think. And no, it wasn't the Cal State. It was at one Central California show. It was about 2001, 2002. He had just gotten his pro card sometime before that, and he had a little booth there. He had a little table, and and the reason why I remember this, and you'll know this because if you know Dexter, you'll know. So I'm with my first wife. She's a beautiful Japanese lady, and he has this line of people on his thing. And so I walk up. She's like, my ex-wife is like, hey, I want to get a picture signed from him. I go, okay. So we walk over there, and there's this big line. I competed. So there was a big line, and he goes, and all these people, he looks over, and he goes like this. He pushes everybody aside. He says, what can I do for you, sweetheart? And he's looking around. She's like, I just signed a picture. So he's like, no problem. He signs the picture for her and gives it to her. But nobody would believe that he would still be competing today but they do now because he is. And the point that I'm making is that these are beliefs that once people would have said, it's not possible. It's not possible. Really? Like, this dude's going to be almost 50 and it's not possible. Like, you know, like, right. As like not compete at the level and be competitive. That he's like, it's not possible. Like, you can compete, but it's not possible. But we both know now, like, what the answer is. Of course, it's possible. He's fucking doing it. Like, it's totally possible. He's totally doing it, and he probably has 1 or 2 more years left in him. So my point is that what belief do you want to? What belief do you really want to hold? And I say this to not just you, but to everybody. Like, what belief do we really want to hold? And what do we really want from our life? It's predicated on what those beliefs are, right? Like, so do you find that, like, because it sounds like to me like some of those are opening up a little bit, because it sounds just from this one show. It's kind of cool to hear.
Yeah, man. It's kind of like the more I thought about it. And, you know, it's kind of like coming from where we came from. I mean, man, I'm from Greenville, South Carolina. Didn't nobody even know Greenville, South Carolina.
And you were gonna quit.
Yeah. And then Trey came along, man, and it just like, man, now it's like doors start opening. So I'm just like, man, I came from this dude that started in 2002, and I did my first show and I quit because I didn't win. I was pissed out I didn't win.
So I'm gonna quit. Fuck it.
I quit for 2 days, man, and then
for two whole days. Oh wow, shit. That's
I quit about 2 days. And he tell Trey, my uncle Bobo, which he local tweets compete. He taught me. He helped me pose, and I won my second show. I did the following week, and I won. And man, I've been hooked on this sport since then. So man, I'm looking at it like, man, I come from a small town, which is pretty big now. And man, didn't nobody know nothing about me. So now, man, look, I got to meet you. I got an awesome coach. I met some awesome people in this sport. I mean, I always want to say, man, you know, what can I leave on this sport when I retire? I mean, you know, I want nobody to just say, oh man, yeah, Tank, yeah. Man, when I leave, I want to say, man, Tank was competitive. Tank was competitive in 2 divisions.
You like kind of like Bo Jackson, man. Kind of like Bo Jackson. 2 sports. I always like Bo Jackson.
And so now, I mean, that's my vision right now, man. And you tell him that I have not set up by doing open since we got bad.
Trey's like, yeah. I heard this shit.
So it's kind of like, man. So it's kind of like, man, having him, I just feel like it's possible. And I honestly think that 212. I mean, I know we're gonna be competitive, but I want to be competitive in both divisions.
You can be.
Yeah.
You can be.
Yeah.
You can be. But
I mean,
and now that your mind is there, you will be.
Yeah.
Just don't stand in your own way.
Out, man.
I think it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun. And, you know, one of the things that I've always appreciated about you, Charles, is that, and I could totally see when I look at people, when I meet people in the industry and I talk to them and I meet their coach, if it's somebody that I don't know, then I could always almost predict what kind of personality types they're going to have because we attract to each other very similar personality types, right? Like we just do. So one of the things I've always appreciated about you since I met you, and I think I told you this like the first time I met you, like, man, dude, you just had this great smile on your face always. You're always fucking happy. Like it's the way I feel all the time. I'm so happy about that. Like so, and it was always, and you always were so positive. So you know, I didn't know that you like fucking quit for 2 days. Like, but I just think maybe you just wanted to eat. Maybe you really just wanted to eat some pizza or something.
So bad. The reason why I didn't win is because my posting sucked. Because like back then, you know, coaches didn't even exist. But I had a dude named Mark, which got me into bodybuilding, and he was pretty much my coach then. But one thing he sucked at, posing.
Not much of a coach then, is he?
I lost the show. And I was like, man, I quit, man. I said I did all this hard work. And I came in 4th. I didn't win. I said, man, I quit. So I quit for 2 days. I went to Outback and I gained about like 15 pounds.
Did you just say you went to Outback? I told you just wanted to eat, man. You just wanted to eat.
Man, like I say, man, I got to meet great people like you, man. Great fans. It's like now, man. It's just like, man. I just want to compete. It was one thing. King Kamali. I watched King Kamali on Generation Iron with Robin. Was it Robin Lopez? I think.
Is it?
I had to run into it on YouTube. And one thing he did say, he said, man, one thing I know about Tank, he said, he looked great. He said, I give him all the props in the world for even having the balls, even go there and compete with them boys. He said, I ain't seen other 212 dudes doing it. But he said I look good. He said, but one thing he don't figure out about me is that I love the sport and I love to compete. Man, sometimes he had to talk me out of doing shows. He'd be like, "Oh, yeah, man, doing a show." I like, man, let's do so and so. He like,
how many? So, from your perspective, Trey, how many shows is? Because every competitor that you work with, I know you'll agree with this. They have like a limit. Like everyone's got a limit in terms of how many shows they can really feel or realistically do in a year. Some people can do more. Bodybuilders tend to be able to do less because there's so much refractory period between one show and the next, unless they're sandwiched together. What does Tank got in him?
Honestly, I wouldn't necessarily put like there's a number because there's been times where I would probably say, you know what, maybe it's time for us to take a break, and maybe we don't, and he does better. But I do believe for him, and just because reality is we want to be in the big shows and be more of a, I do feel like him. Yeah, it's good to get the rest, and of course, we're not a spring chicken. I mean, even though he's got a youthful physique, youthful body.
does.
That fight needs a break, and I think sometimes emotionally, sometimes it
Absolutely.
needs a break too.
Yeah,
So I think
yeah.
that, kind of reestablishing that and a little bit of that home front too, getting with family a little bit during that time, that break is always good and helpful. And that's this guy's own therapy. But yeah, I would say Charles, if I didn't have a limit on Charles stuff, he'd probably go nonstop every week for a show, and he'd be okay with that.
He'd be showing up at the Olympia like at 155 pounds, man.
Yeah.
I mean, like this big. They be like, man, they ain't no tank. He turned to their Uncle Pre. Well, man, hey, like I say, man, I'm a firm believer that certain things happen for a reason.
Absolutely.
And certain people come in your life for a reason. And man, like I say, man, I had, my son play AAU ball. So I like, well, once he started doing traveling ball, I said, I'll probably, think about retiring. But I told him when I got back, I said, hey, boy, you might take a break with AAU ball for another couple of years, bro. I think Daddy gonna keep competing for a while.
So that's right. How old's your son?
He 9.
9. So okay. I remember there was something going on a couple years ago. You were telling me about it was some stressful situation that was affecting you because it seemed to be out of character for you, at least from my perspective. Because like you're always a very happy-go-lucky kind of guy, and as I was saying earlier, there's a deep reflection in all the friendships and the coaches that we tend to gather around us. I can see some similar because I just met you, Trey, like just at the Arnold officially the first time, but you have a very warm personality, and I like that about you. You have a very sincere and authentic and warm personality, and those are the kind of people that I like to hang out with. And but it doesn't surprise me because that's the way Charles is, right? Like, and so I like that, but it did surprise me that one year. I don't remember, it was a couple years ago. I can't remember exactly when, but you were telling me about some stuff, and it was at a show or something. You were talking to me, and you were saying and I was like, but when you were telling me the story about it, you seemed very frustrated, and it was out of character. So you obviously because you're not a negative person. You're not like an angry person. But I'm like, man, this dude should be really like he should be an angrier person for. But so what keeps you tell me what has guided you in your life or kept you in the perspective that you have? Because I have had to maintain a very I studied this stuff. I went to seminary. I did all these things, but it was all from the pursuit of me trying to understand myself and me trying to be able to live the most noble experience that I can. And for me, that means joyful. I want to be joyful. I want to spread as much love and joy as I possibly can. That's all I really give a shit about. But it's a work in progress. It's always, it's always effort for me to reinterpret my world. So what is it for you? Like, what keeps you? Because some people just have a really wonderful temperament. You have a really great. I always laugh and I always smile whenever I see you because I always know that's what's coming. So that's good. I like that, right? So what is it that keeps you on that?
So I might say something crazy anyway.
That's okay. That's what makes me laugh usually.
Man, honestly, at the age, first you mentioned it, man. That was one that that low point, and man,
I don't know if it was with your kids or something. Yeah, it was something.
Yeah, man, trained all the hoes up, man. It was like I was going back and forth to court.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
With meditation with my son, man, spending. I'm talking about, man. I'm down to getting pennies to put gas in my car. We're paying lawyer fees.
You can just call me, man. I'll give you $20.
It got to the point, and Trey, it tell you, it was just so frustrating because the way the situation, the way the other side, the other party was portraying me is totally not like me, man. Trey, man, I love my son to death. I love him more than I love me, and I was just being portrayed as not being, a responsible dad, man. It was just frustrating because, man,
that could be tough.
Man, I get it, man. Trey, tell how spoiled he is, and man, but it was just so frustrating that, man, I had to go through this. And my reputation was being I was tarnished over people who gotta being spiteful. Man, it was frustrating, man. Back then, a lot of people tell me, man, I was just I really wasn't real ugly towards people, man. But I was short. I didn't want to be bothered with.
You were frustrated. Man. You were frustrated.
Yeah.
I can see it. I understand that. As a coach, part of the job that I really actually enjoy and love is really counseling with some of my athletes and some of my people like this. Do you find that's the same for you, Trey? Like, is that part of?
You know, with a lot, as funny as it may sound, I have a lot of athletes, and Charles being probably one of the ones that I think we've been through so much because we got so many stories, and also whether it's funny because we look back and we laugh at it, and that's probably the right side of it. And maybe that's why, even for me and him, we always have more of a positive outlook. Like we try to look at the bright side of something, or bright side of a situation. And that's what you got to look at, and that's what I usually try to do with a lot of my athletes. I have a lot of athletes I consider almost like family now that we've been together for so many years, and they can talk to me and about things that can be personal, just because they can trust me with it, and we can kind of maybe share a lot of the stories too. Because of course I got my share of stories in my past that.
Oh yeah, we got some too now.
We all do, man.
Funny thing, we started talking about things like, man, we've been through a lot of shit. I was like, yeah. I think that's with us. That's why we probably have been close as we have been for so many years, because we do know a lot, and we came through a lot of stuff too. And in a sense, we even today we can sit there and we can joke about it now.
Yeah, man.
That's one of the coolest things I've found in my career. So my career has spanned almost 34 years now in this industry, and it's like one of those things where when you look back, as you look back on stuff, and you start to look at your friendships and you start to look at your career, man, it's really kind of cool how life just unfolds for you. As long as it really is. But I could have taken a very different perspective and be very tainted. I could be, there's a whole myriad of things that could have possibly have happened that I could, but for whatever reason, I didn't, and you didn't, and I don't, and when we look at our lives, you can feel the blessing, you can feel the gratitude for your life, and I think that's one of the greatest things that this sport has given me in my career. Would you say something similar?
Yeah, it's funny. Like, I think Charles can tell you. It's like, I think every show he's ever got off stage, I'm usually the first one to see him, greet him, give him a hug.
Hey, good.
I'll rub his head.
Hey, Terry, this is a true story. Hey, Terry, I tell you this. My sponsor that I got now, the only reason why I signed with Performance Labs is they had to pay for his show to come to my every show.
Oh, okay.
That's my security blanket. I said, y'all do that, I'll sign.
Well, pretty much had it set to where, of course, we always have to travel, or we have to fly and stuff or be there, unless there's some other circumstances. So, yeah, I mean, it's always been, and honestly, for me, I always prefer being there with them, because I feel like we can do so much more. And
of course.
Sometimes we'll change things last minute, because it's like, hey, we do this, do that. And usually it works out to our benefit to do that. So I think it's why, for us, we both feel comfortable being around each other, especially the bigger shows like, the Olympia, the Arnold, because of this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And plus, I always got to catch and sleep and snore. And I mean, I've never been around anyone in my life that can snore as loud as he can on his side.
Oh, well, you haven't slept. You haven't been in the same room with me when I was sleeping.
Funny thing is, I got some videos I've saved from Arnold weekend. I haven't posted because I was like, you know what, it might freak some people out.
Okay, so here's what you do. Here's what we're gonna do so you're gonna make it to the Olympia, and then after it's over, you can create a montage of snoring videos, a collection of all just 2-second blips.
That's been our little game ever since we been started. Like, people actually, they be looking forward to us doing sleep videos. They're like, man, y'all got a sleep video? We should do it on the plane, in the hotel room, everywhere. And so it kind of caught on that people like, oh man, can't wait to see y'all sleep videos.
So now you must have sleep apnea, right? Like, sleep apnea, right? He's like, yeah, he does.
I had took a few pictures of him, but I should have recorded it, because one time he was snoring so loud. There was one older lady sitting right beside him. She looked at me and she's like, "Oh hell no!"
I think he scared her, Tank.
Hey, I hate it for people. Hey, whoever stood beside me on the plane, I hated for them, boy. They in trouble.
You know, like, you know, tell them don't. Well, maybe they need to get a different seat. Do you have sleep apnea? Right? I'm assuming, right?
But you know what's weird about it is that I got diagnosed with it, and I had a sleep machine for a while. And then I went back, got the check, and she said it was good. But sometimes, man, like when I'm really exhausted, man.
Yeah, there's the muscles in the airways for whatever reason, because I have it really bad, and it doesn't matter what weight I am. Like, so when I was heavier, it was a little worse. But even now, like, and I'm only like 210 pounds, and I'm pretty lean, but I still snore. Yeah, I'll still snore. And
I heard they got that one on. They got the one that just mine cover my nose. I don't like it.
Yeah, so I do that.
They said they got a new one that's like just cover your nostrils.
That's what I want. I've seen it. I want that. Yeah. I want that because the whole shit over. It's just that I become. So if you're like me, you become like a mouth breather, and I'm trying to kick myself in this because I got to be able to breathe just through my nose, but I have a deviated septum too, so I have kind of a double whammy. So, but when I use the ones with the nose pillows with the little nose things, that it helps because it opens up my nose. So
I want to try them. Yeah,
but it works. I don't like the first thing that I remember when I was my previous wife. She was a nurse practitioner. She's the one that suggested go in and like get evaluated because she's like, you have sleep apnea. I could tell. I could hear it. You snore like hell. And so, of course I did. And when I had it corrected, but the first thing that I didn't like was that I'm sort of a spooner, man, and you can't do that shit when you have this. I felt like Darth Vader. It doesn't work. Like, and I felt like I was like Darth Vader, like trying to grope my wife. So it created a barrier. I would like to say that's the reason why that marriage failed, but it probably wasn't. It was probably a little.
Might have been the slight deal breaker.
Yeah. They might have kicked everything over the cliff.
Yeah, well, but my current girlfriend, we don't even sleep in the same room because she's such a light sleeper. I'm like, go use the other room, and what I found, and I started to preach this to my clients. I started doing a lot of research on sleep, and so here's the funny thing: like we need a certain amount of really deep restorative sleep, especially as bodybuilders, and you can't get there if you're always being woken up. And you can't it's hard. Like so I use a lot of different supplements like melatonin and different things because I'm always in front of my computer. And when you look at, I don't know if you know this, but if you look at your screen on your phone or on an iPad or on a television set or just lights being on the house, if it's within an hour before you go to bed, you can literally reduce your own melatonin production by 50 to 80%. Yep. And so you can't drop into those lower levels of restorative sleep as easily if you're not producing enough melatonin. You'll still sleep, but you won't get the restorative sleep. You know when you get it. You know when you get it because you wake up and you're like, "Fuck, I'm ready to go." And when you wake up and you feel like, "Oh, I want to go back to bed," you're not getting it.
You ain't slept at all. Yeah.
So I started. So when I started to sleep on my own, because I've always shared a bed with somebody for years. And when she started moving, man, it was like a new lease on life, man. It was awesome. I totally appreciate my sleep more. Like maybe it's because I'm older. I don't know, but I fucking
the older we get, boy, the more we appreciate that sleep.
I know, man. Like that sucks. That's like I used to I remember when I was younger, like I remember being in college. I don't know if this was your case, but I didn't hardly need sleep, man. Like, what was it? Sleep? Man. Who needs sleep, man?
About 2 or 3 hours.
You guys want to go do something? Okay, let's go. It's like,
we're going down. You be like, where we going, bro?
Where we going? Right?
And you like 11 o'clock at night. And you got to be in class at 8 o'clock in the morning. You like, where we going? Exactly. You can't sleep what you need to do.
Now, you live where now, Trey? Now?
I'm in Florence, South Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah, Florence.
Now, have you always been there?
Well, this is where I'm originally from. And when I went to school, I finished school in upstate South Carolina, Spartanburg, then moved to California, finished up chiropractic there.
Whereabouts in Where?
I was in a place called Windsor, California, which is Sonoma County.
Okay, yeah, northern.
Rosa, it's north of San Francisco.
I love that area. I love that. It's beautiful.
I love the area. It's beautiful. It's just really, really expensive.
Yeah.
So,
I see that big.
Yeah.
That's
so
it.
then I moved back to Greenville, opened up office there when I was in Greenville for a while actually, and then I've been in Florence for the last 2.5 years. But I still go back and forth between Florence and Greenville working.
And you stay now, and Charles, you've always lived in South Carolina?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Oh.
Besides, when I went to school,
Wait, now you told me before. Where'd you go to school?
Carson Newman College it's in Jefferson City, Tennessee.
Tennessee, man, you picked those hard states.
I know, man. I was in Cold State too,
Dude,
man.
although I will say one thing. I went to Nashville for the first time this last year. Went to see, had some people and helped out with, Flex's show there right outside of Nashville. And great show, by the way, great show. I'm going to go there again. They want me to judge next year and stuff, so I'm going to go there again because I loved it. But it's one of the few places that I've been to, which was Nashville, which when I'd just been there once, I would fucking move there in a heartbeat. Like, man,
I love Nashville.
Yeah.
The people,
yeah.
the people are nice, and the ladies, man, the accent kicks me, bro. Like I'm just like I'm dying. I'm like I love that southern accent, especially when I just love it, man. It's like I'm like falling in love with fucking waitresses and shit, like because of their accent. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Like, but I found out that my mother and my grandmother and my mother's side of the family, they're all from Arkansas and the South. Now I grew up in the West. So I grew up in California and Nevada and Las Vegas. That's where I grew up. And so I have sort of Western sensibilities of sorts, except when it comes to family and relationships. And it comes straight from my mother and my mother's side of the family. Like that's all I grew up around. My father, I didn't grow up around. So I didn't realize this until later. I'm like, how come this turned, why is this thing, why am I attracted to this? And it turns out that it's because of the same nurturing warmth that is displayed with these kinds of, just with simple gestures, like holding doors open or like, saying hello or smiling at somebody or just, having a nice conversation with a complete stranger. And, yeah. And, and then they feed you. But I don't get that.
South,
What's that?
Yeah, they gonna feed you in the South, bro.
Oh, bro, like I could do that. Like I didn't even have, like I remember the first time I had grits and I fell in love with it because I had it in Atlanta. I didn't have it. And my brother's like telling me, dude, you got to have some grits, man. You got to try this. It's really good. Because we grew up, there's no grits going on over it in like California. Like not a lot of people eat it. Like unless you're from the South, they just don't eat it a lot of it. And so I go over there and my buddy's like, you got to try these at this one place. I went to the Nationals when they used to have it in Atlanta. And so I guess there's some special kind that they make there in the area. And it takes like 45 minutes to cook on a pot. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that's true.
Oh my God! This stuff, I fell in love with this stuff. I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. I'm like, this is totally better than oatmeal. I'm like, I'm totally better than oatmeal. I
bet it totally beat cream of wheat too.
In a heartbeat. Like I did no idea it could taste so good. It's like,
hey, they're like some good old grits and eggs out here in the South. But.
Well, they do all kinds of stuff, like put cheese in it and all kinds of other stuff too, I think. But I just like it straight. I just like butter and sugar, man. Like just give me the butter and the brown sugar.
Oh, heck yeah.
If you go back to Nashville, go to this place, there's a few of them there. It's called Biscuit Love.
I like the title.
Amazing. Yeah, trust me. You go to that place.
But that sounds good.
When it comes to anything grits or like a chicken and waffle base, they have the best there.
I like chicken and waffles.
Little chicken and waffles. But.
I know you never would think that that's a combination that would be good. You would think, okay, that's kind of weird, but I remember
that's the best combination.
Oh man, that's the best combination known to man.
There's a famous place in LA, right, where they started serving this years ago, and I remember somebody said, oh, you got to have the chicken and waffles over there. You got to go to so and so. So I went and had it, and of course. It was awesome. And I never knew before that, like this was like maybe 10 years ago, 12 years ago. I never thought this would be a good combination. Like it just doesn't sound like it. Fried chicken and waffles. But I like waffles and I like fried chicken. So I guess I should have logically assumed that it would.
That's the best combination, man.
Well, so now after this competitive season is over, no matter what happens, what's your plan moving forward? Like, do you foresee? Because it sounds like you foresee several more years of open competition.
Oh, definitely, man.
Because I think your body's got it. I think your body has it in it.
I've been fortunate, like I said, man. I've been fortunate and blessed, man. you know, being fairly healthy. Besides, you know, normal aches and pains. We finally got rid of shoulder problems way early. And man, like Trey said, you know, I had to kind of scale back a little bit. You know, with the stretching, you know, just basically now it's kind of like, you know, maintenance. Try to take better care of myself. But not that I don't take care of myself, but try to be a little more cautious about certain things so I can stay healthy. So is that the main? So Trey, is that if you were to give advice to other athletes who are in the over 40 category, so to speak, who are aging, if you will, into the sport, but still can compete and still can do well, like what's the biggest factor for you in terms of like what guidance you would give them?
I say like proactive in terms of just rehab. Like if you have opportunities to go into like a cryo tank, go in a cryo tank.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah. I've been big in infrared therapy, like those things, cold laser therapy. Pretty much if you look at whatever like professional sports team you follow, look at what they do for the rehab. If you can at least do about 50% of what they do, you'll be on a good note.
It is.
When it comes to those contracts, and those guys have multi-million-dollar contracts with football or basketball, every type of alternative care or therapy they can do, to keep themselves healthy, So that's the way I feel like you need to approach, even like with bodybuilding, very similar approach when it comes to taking care of the body. Yeah,
I think for me, I have to totally agree. I would also add when you look at like I like this. Even though I'm not a Seahawks fan, I like the team, but for very different reasons. My team is the Cowboys. I like the Cowboys. I'm just going to be a Cowboy. Hey, dude, come on. I've been a Cowboys fan since '77, man. It's like, but
you gotta ride or die with it now.
Right, man. I've already committed myself. But I do like the Seahawks because because of what they do. So like what you're saying. So like they have most of these professional teams, and this is I try to tell other athletes this just because we're not part of a big team like the Seattle Seahawks or the Dallas Cowboys or whoever team you like. I know you like. Who do you like, man?
The Gators.
The Gators, that's right.
College ball, yeah.
Yeah, you like college ball.
Panthers for pro ball.
Oh yeah, Carolina Panthers for pros.
Okay, so not everyone could be a part of a multi-million-dollar operation like the Panthers or some of those. So we can't always have all these things. But like you said, like there are certain modalities that we can use that can actually absolutely help us. One of the ones I think is most overlooked. It's becoming less overlooked today, and I would like to get your opinion on it. Is mindset coaching and mindfulness. Even though mindfulness is the worst term you could possibly use when it comes to like meditation, because it's actually taking your mind out. You actually want to take, but it's the term we use, right? And it's just, I think we just use it because it sounds better than meditation. It sounds less. It sounds less like religious or something. But the reason why I like the Seahawks is because they have a guy who they hired several years ago who just focuses on the mindset and mindfulness training for all their athletes. And once they did that, they started winning. Like they started winning. Like these guys everybody starts doing well. Everybody across the board starts doing better. And it's one of the things I think takes the most faith and also a lot of innovation that and because it's not what has historically been done. I do that with my athletes. Do you do something like this? Because you said you kind of you guys talk, but also how do you approach it?
It's funny you said, because I have a martial arts background, so I used to meditation and stuff too. And honestly, it's one of those things I feel like I probably should really go back into doing more of, because it is a mental mindset with everything you do, and I feel like a lot of times the mind defeats, of course, the body more than anything.
Right.
And I do like you hitting those high points, because I do believe that is a big deal, and we just lose sight, because I think we're always about being active, being like, we've got to do something. We have to physically do something to better ourselves. But then a lot of times it's more mental than anything, right. And taking the time to take a step back and really kind of settle the body and actually de-stressing the body mentally too, doing things to kind of take the stress away.
That's right.
That's one of the things the mind can control so much of, So
absolutely, the everything, like, it's kind of funny because we know this logically, but somehow we kind of like disassociate from it a little bit, that our mind controls every single metabolic process, every single process of our body. There's not a single thing that it does not control, and yet yet we kind of treat our bodies like a clock. Let's just wind it up and let it go. Yeah. But it doesn't really work that way. Like you get to turn the dials if you want. You get to set the time where you want to if you wish. But most of us set it to something that is at our disadvantage. kind of, and I'm not trying to pick on you, Charles, but kind of like your probably thoughts were about open class before you did it this last time again. And then you got a little bit more glimpse of like, hey, this is possible for me. And it's just simply about, it's about using being right here in our moment and knowing like, hey, I'm master and controller of my destiny. I'm the one that gets to control it instead of, the world doesn't control it. I do. And it's not necessarily about winning or losing, right? It's really about what what joy and what fulfillment you're going to get from it from your life. To me, when you stop thinking in terms of, so I'm always trying to ask people to stop thinking in terms of destinations or in terms of, it's going to sound strange, but goals. We want to have our goals, but we don't want to be, that shouldn't be the fixation point of our success. Like I will feel, because what it does is it gives us the excuse not to feel successful if we don't attain the goal that we want. I can only feel happy. I can only feel successful. I can only feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing when I get this result. So what happens when you don't, but you've done everything up to that point that you knew you should do? Well, most people get frustrated and they give up you only did for 2 days, but most people give up for longer than that. So it's important. Like, I think that what you're saying, Trey, is that, and I've said this a lot, is that this whole life, whether it be bodybuilding or our lives, it's a mind game. If we can master our mind, then we can master everything else. It's just, so where the body goes, where the mind goes, right? Like it doesn't, our mind doesn't have to follow our body. As a matter of fact, it doesn't really work that way. It works the other way around. So do you work on stuff like that? Do you talk about stuff like that with Charles or with your athletes or?
Yeah, I think it's like that mental mindset, and I always like having these like things I want to say we want to shoot for goal wise. I say this is what we want to do. This is what we want to accomplish, and it could be like more like not necessarily like a number of sense, but it could be what we want to achieve as far as mental mindset going into it. And me and him always we talk and I think that's what kind of motivates us both too. You know, it motivates me and him when we actually talk about that, and we are.
That's good. So what's the big, since you guys, what's your big milestone that you have in the last, well, I guess it's been however many years, what's some of the markers that you guys have marked your success with, just out of curiosity?
I think, our biggest one we achieved, of course, last year was Arnold. I think we always want to be a top 3 Arnold. And we did that. We got second. Almost, we came close to winning. And then our future, of course, like, okay, we want to be a top 5 Olympian. Top 5 Olympians is the next goal. Of course, if we get invited to the Open Arnold again, we want to be a top 6 Arnold Open, competitor. So those are the.
You can do that.
Definitely hit. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's doable. That's
the thing. And I think we just keep hitting those things. And that's what we want. And we know it's possible. We can do this. We can make it happen. And a lot. And if we don't succeed the first time, we're not going to give up. We're going to do it again. We're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep trying to go back at it. That's like we always say, like our bucket list. Our bucket list. I thought my bucket list is like my tattoo maybe, but he don't want to get tattooed with me. So that's
tattoo.
So we try to we pick at each other because we have our different goals. But, we come together, like kind of mark those things together and say, hey, we did make this happen for us. So.
We have, man. We really have. It seems like every time we set a goal, we pretty much like hit it. Like with him, man, Trey one of the type of coaches, like he real laid back, but he can say something in a calm way and man make you think that you gonna run through the wall. But he can work your man, Tad, this is us God truth. Me and Monique work out every day together. And we work out hard. I mean, he work out hard. We sweat, breathing hard, blah, blah, blah. But working out with Trey, when he comes, man, I love and hate working out with him. Because I know, I mean, me and Monique push each other, but with Trey, man, he just take it to a whole nother level. It's like, man, I be like, I hate you here, but I
hate you, man. but I love you too.
But I worked with him so long, and man, just to have him like when we train, I mean, man, all he doing is counting, but just to have him, man, he just got this persona about him, man. He pushes to the next level.
Is that the strength?
I've been trying to catch him like back when we lift out the heavy weight. I was just trying to catch him, and so man, he always been like, man, always motivated me to do good, man. And the thing about it with him, it's just like we the total opposite. I'm a damn rah, like always hyper, jumping around. See, and he just as calm.
Sometimes that's a good formula, right? That's the yin and yang. That's the yin and yang of stuff. My brother and I have an identical twin brother, as you know. I think you've met my brother, right? Yeah. So we have always joked that we're like the yin and yang, like not only because we're Japanese, but we're also like if my mother told us when we were growing up, if one of us was having a good day, the other one was having a bad day. If one of us was, feeling one way, the other was feeling the opposite. Like we just kind of did this. And in our lives have sort of paralleled this. When I'm doing really great in my career, he's not doing so good. When he's doing really great, I'm not doing so good. It's kind of like, it goes like, but
I got the opposite.
But when we're together, it's like everything balances out, and we both feel much more powerful together than we ever do by ourselves. Some of it could just be because we're identical twins and we have a deep connection, because we do. My brother and I love my brother in this world. He's the only other person that I know who I know is like there, right? For me, my daughter I love, I have family that I love, but my brother, man, it's like it's hard to imagine my world without him. Like he's part of me, So I know, and he's also the guy that I talk to when I want the truth. If I want the adulterated truth, he'll be like, "Yeah, Tad, you're full of shit on this, and this sucks here." I'm like, "Okay." It's like, but sounds like that maybe, that sounds like that kind of relationship. I think it's good to have that kind of relationship, right? Like to have that kind of opposite.
Yo, man, he's like I say, man, he's just not a coach, man. He a friend. He my brother from another mother. And I say, man, we go, man. Like I say, he didn't tell you this when he decided he gonna move back to Florence. Well, I knew he was going back and forth, but he told me last because he knew I was gonna take the home. Why? So I couldn't hear nobody, and everybody was like, I couldn't hear. I said, man, Trey ain't moving. He ain't moving back home. They're like, man, okay. And so I heard about it, man.
You're like, what?
So I was the last person he told. He like, I said, all right, man. Okay. It took me a long time to get used to it.
Really?
Everybody like, man, Todd, but your little blanket gone now, huh? I was like, yeah, man.
It's okay.
Yeah. He had to tell me when Modi was like, Trey ain't told you yet? I like, no.
You're like, tell me what?
I said, whatever, man. He ain't moving back home. Like, yeah, he is. Talk about he'll tell you, but I was the last person he told.
It's probably because he didn't want to hear you complain.
I said, don't worry, I'm coming back. I'm still.
Yeah, that's what he said. Though he said,
I was like, hey, we get closer to the show. Don't worry, you'll probably see me more. I'll be here.
Because I think, man.
How far away is it?
Seven. You been gone 2 years, so it's been with my son. For like 7 years, man. I saw him every day.
How far? So how far away are you now? Like how far away are these two places?
It's about like 2.5 hours. It's not
about 2 hours.
Oh, man.
That's not bad. Even I'm coming back. I've been back and forth like every weekend for the last few weekends anyway. Since the Arnold. So he's been feeling better. So getting anyways. I come back and forth. So we making it work. Making this relationship work.
At first it was hard, man. It was hard at first, man. I was like, man. Like I say, I was used to, man. He been my security blanket. I think it was just fortunate, and I was blessed enough. Not only is he my coach, he was a chiropractor too. And you gotta think, man. I had the security blanket every day for like 7 years. It was like we worked out together. Got my adjustments every day. Just saw each other every day. We posed for 7 years.
I think I want you
to take it away from you, like, man. Really?
If I had that, I'd want you as my coach too, man. Shit. I'll tell you, man. It's like, man, like I say, on birthdays, man, he surprised with like surprise dinners at Outback on my birthday, man. You got a thing for Outback, man. What's going on with Outback? You got stock in it or something?
It's just the norm. The norm is like everything. And then I think that we usually used to, like, actually after every show we would celebrate and we'll go like Outback together, get a Blue Moon, and like good beer, and just hang out.
Oh, nice! You guys are speaking my language.
Wow. He always just been on, man, and like I say, man, he always have been. I got a good support system. I got good parents, man. They all supported me, man. It was weird, man. Trey can tell you the gym members here, man, gotta be the most supportive people ever. Like if I know I'm going to a show, Man, they want to know the Outback and everything. I mean, they want to know if it's gonna be a live feed. They'll watch it. Like half of them watched it couple weeks ago.
At the gym.
Man, it was so weird. Like last year, man, everybody came to the gym and watched it.
That's
they
cool.
It on the big TV, and everybody like, "Oh, you gonna win? I'm like, damn."
That's okay.
So, man, so man, like it's family here, man. It's like I got a trained man, good support system, man.
I'll tell you,
it's like everything now. Throughout the years, everything been kind of like this, up and down. But it just seemed like, as far as like, life-wise, man, I'm getting a better balance. Career-wise, bodybuilding getting a balance. So what? I just kind of seem like, I got a little balance, and now I got this new breath of fresh air, man. It's like. One
of the things that I do a lot of research on like happiness and especially as it relates to behaviors and psychology and stuff. And it's really interesting. They did some studies about happiness several years ago, and that focused on what elements do people have in their life that can help them achieve certain level of fulfillment and happiness. Like how are some people attaining really, really wonderful levels of happiness and why other people aren't? And what they found was exactly what you're describing. Is that when you couple together somebody, people who support each other, and all it takes, this is interesting, all it takes is 3 people. They say that all you need, that people, when they did these surveys and they did these studies, they found that the people who were the happiest were the people who had at least 3 people who they can call on, rely on, or trust. That's all you need. And and in our sport, we have coaches and we have people that we work out with and friendships and these. But if you have 3 people, and when you really, really embrace that idea, then you have this really wonderful opportunity to really have this really accelerated life. That people just tend to be able to go in there. They're more willing to take risks. They're more willing to go out there and do things that benefit them. But when you don't have that, it's almost as if you feel isolated in a world filled with 7 billion people. It's ironic that we can feel isolated. And alone.
You would think you would.
And that's what I think, and I don't know, you could probably echo this sentiment, Trey, but that's one of the things, and you too, Tank, that one of the biggest blessings that this career has given me is relationships. It's just, there's no doubt about it.
Yes, man. So, I know, man, I got to say, it happened for this sport, I mean, I complain about this sport every day. Man, the day I told them, I said, man, you know what, man? I quit. This is my last show. When I say that night, everybody look at me, man, would you please shut up? If I had a nickel for every time I said that, I'd be rich. But man,
it's okay. It's okay to vent your frustration like that once in a while.
They're like, man, you serious? I'm like, no, man.
No, just give them a blooming onion and then forget about it. And a blue moon.
Blue moon is like, okay, go.
All right, well, hey, where can people reach you, both of you? First, start with you, Charles. Where can people reach you if they need to get a hold of you or something like that? On social media or your email or whatnot? How do you want people to reach you if they want to get a hold of you?
Oh, man, I'm definitely on social media.
Do you respond?
I set it up pretty much the same way. So
okay.
My Instagram and my Twitter is _Dixon.
Okay.
So I'm not hard to find on either one of them. And the email people can reach me at is ctankdixon@gmail.com.
And how about you? how about you, Trey? How do people get a hold of you?
Usually, most of the time I always say pretty much IG Dr. Team Hodge is the probably one of the easier ways. Also, I do have a website. It's www.teamhodge.net. Okay. So that's another way people can reach out to me. And email is going to be dr.teamhodge@gmail.com.
Now, is this so now when people reach out, if they want to reach out to you for coaching or whatnot, is this the typical kind of relationship that you have with your clients? And it's a loaded question, and I'm not trying to.
Oh, no. Hold on. Everybody know. Look, I ain't trying to be stingy or nothing. There's no disrespect to all my other teammates. But everybody know on the team, or Dr. Team Hodge, everybody know who the number one.
So what he's trying to say is he gets the first hug.
Hey, Ted, I used to get a little upset, man, when people start coming and Trey be going on people's shows. I'm like, what the fuck are you? Where you going?
I got a job to do.
They were like, oh man, Trey coming to my show. I was like, wait.
You know,
like, man, hold up, wait a minute.
You know, when I was, I'm going to tell you this story, Charles. When I was like 4 years old, I remember. So my brother and I were identical twins, and my mother, she has to divide her attention between both of us. And so I'm like 4 years old, and I remember going to my mother, and I was upset that she was giving some love to my brother, and I'm like, hey man, like I didn't want to miss out. Okay, like, and she said, you know, Dad, she said, how much love do you think I have? And I said, I don't know. And she said, I have an infinite amount. I have more than enough for you and your brother and many, many, many others. She said, don't worry. No, not going anywhere. So I tell you the same thing. I think Trey's got enough to go around, brother.
This is a true story. Now, he didn't believe this. Well, what I said is, after about, we did Muscle Heat, Sarasota. I think it was our third show we did together. I said, man, you know what's going to happen? I said, we're going to start winning. And people going to get a whole lot of clients.
And I'm going to get no attention from you.
And man, after that, he started snowballing. I'm like, hold on, man. Then I'm like, wait a minute, nah. Y'all taking away from my attention. Hold up, wait a minute. Hold up. Well, look, I learned to share. I learned to share a little bit. But everybody, I'm telling you, everybody know when it comes to my showtime, I'm like, look, man, he ain't gonna be here. He gonna be with me. So don't call him as an emergency.
That's good.
My time.
See, now you got to transition yourself now into like the team leader, like lead all these other people, so that way you can lead them to your show. And then like when he come to agree with like when he come, you know, I try to be a little patient, let everybody come get adjustment, blah blah blah. But then I'll be like, so then when it's me his time to train pole, they be come trying to talk. I'll be like, bro, hold on, man. I give you your time. Now it's my time, man. Bye, get out. It's nice to feel. It's nice to feel wanted and loved, isn't it, Trey? All right, well, hey man,
everybody, I do got a website too. It's CharlesDixonFitPro.com.
Well, you can make it complicated. CharlesDixonFitPro.com.
I don't know, man. I tried to come with something different, but I made it difficult.
That's okay. Well, hey, man, thank you for being on the show, Charles. Thank you, Trey. I appreciate you guys
Thanks for having us, man.
Spending the extra time.
You having us, man.
Yeah, man. I can't wait to see. And I think Indiana's not very far from where I'm at. I think that show's not too far, so I might be out there. I think I was. So, but
Dave, I'm telling you, that is one hell of a show.
Is it? It's the second year, right?
Second year.
I think this is second year.
Yeah, I think it's second.
It's second year.
So
man, it's an awesome show. I told him when we left, I said, man, I'll definitely be back. I mean, he got a nice venue. I mean, he take care of the athletes, man. I mean,
if they timed it in the right time.
Shirts.
What was that?
We got 2 shirts.
2 shirts. That's all you care about. That's all you care about is a
baseball tee with your name on the back.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah.
All they need now is to give you a cap with your name on it, and you'll be like, all right, my friends. Well, hey,
man, I appreciate you having me, man. Ted, man.
Oh, man.
You always. I tell Dave Palumbo the same thing. I think you and Dave probably the only people in commentating and bodybuilding gurus that have always, man. Y'all have not one time said anything negative. Y'all have always gave me positive words, gave me good advice.
Oh well,
man, I appreciate it, man. Like I say, I ran into a lot of people, good people in the sport. And it's like I probably would have seen a lot of states, visit a lot of places have been from bodybuilding, man. But I appreciate the people I done met, and you one of them.
Thanks.
I don't fool with too many people. You know, I'm kind of like, in the bodybuilding industry, I'm kind of like, but man, you one of the good ones, man. And
thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Man.
Well,
I call you, like, it's just like with the Arnold. I like, man, well, I say, Tad, I want to see you some pictures. Don't show nobody.
I didn't show anybody. I got several. I remember a couple of people do that with me because they know I won't. I'm not gonna show their pictures or disrupt their process. But they want my advice or they want my 2 cents. So I'm happy to give it. But You're always somebody that resonates with a really good energy. I've always felt a really good energy, so it's easy for me to interact with you.
Yeah.
I just sometimes don't understand you. That's the only thing. Because when you talk, sometimes when you talk fast, you got that. You have like a deep voice, and it's hard, man, to hear. Like, but I get it. Like the more over the years, I don't know. It's like I get it.
The longer you be around me, the longer you'll start to pick up on it.
Even when you stop, because you have a tendency to stop yourself in mid sentence, and I know what you're talking about, but I didn't. Like when I first met you, I'm like, what did he say? I was like, did I hear it all? Did I miss some of it? I think I missed some of it. But that's okay.
You be like,
you just go, okay, yeah. Just agree.
Man, I get this so
it's a good thing or bad thing, but we start understanding more.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole thing about it. Like with people who had been around me, had never been around me, and I started talking, and Trey be around, they'll look at Trey and be like,
what did he say?
And they be like, how you understand what he said? They were like, man, the longer you be around, you pick up on it.
Well, I think I told you before. Like I remember, I think I had you on my show, the 3 questions.
Yeah.
And I remember I struggled a little bit because I couldn't understand. So you would trail off your words. They trail off a little bit. And it's like, I'm like, what? I'm like, oh, fuck. Oh, okay, yeah, okay. You know what I'm saying? But you're a good dude, man. You're a good dude. I really have always appreciated you because I appreciate people deeply who smile a lot and who are warm and who are willing to wear their emotions on their sleeve, because this life is a feeling life. It's all about what we feel. And so, and if we feel good stuff or bad stuff, it doesn't change who we are. Like we are who we are. I try to recognize people for who they are, and who you are is awesome. Who we all are. Just because people don't present themselves that way doesn't mean that they're not. It's like, I just don't have to give my energy to those people because they can be disruptive to my life, to my experience. But you're easy.
Exactly.
You're easy because you're always a happy kind of go lucky kind of guy, and that makes sense to me because I am too. So
I appreciate that, Ted. I appreciate that, bro.
So thank you, man, and thank you, Trey. I appreciate. I'm so glad to be able to finally get a chance to talk to you and really get to know you, and I expect that we'll run into each other a lot more in the upcoming months and years.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm actually planning on that.
As a matter of fact, the next time I see you, maybe you could adjust my back.
Thursday, man. I'll bring some equipment too. I'll probably bring some equipment to Indy, so I'll be working on him.
Oh, cool. All right.
Yeah,
all right, my friends.
Some tools, but I call his bag of tools.
Oh, it's like a torture device or something.
Yeah, I'll be like, man, come on, man, let's get this over with.
All right. Well, thank you so much, guys. I'll let you guys get back to work. I appreciate you guys taking the time. I really do. Thank you so much. All right.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate you, man.
All right. Thanks, Trey.
All right, guys.
All right, so I appreciate you, man. How's it on, man?
All right.
Handle your high with Tadayoshi.